Hello and welcome to a special edition of Brandpie Energy Voices, where we're live from the Charge Energy Branding Conference in Houston. And this is a series where we speak with leaders across the energy industry to hear their perspectives and unearth the power of brand for them and their organization. I'm delighted to be joined by Rob Ford, the Head of Communications at Tipmont. Great to be here with you, Rob.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. Tell us a little bit more about yourself and your role at Tipmont.
Sure. So I'm Tipmont's communication director, so I'm responsible for all of the external and internal communication for the company. And Tipmont itself, we are a distribution rural electric cooperative. So essentially, we're an electric utility that supplies electric energy for about 30,000 meters in mid-north Indiana. So if you can picture Indianapolis and Chicago, we're pretty much right in between them. In addition, we also operate a technology company that supplies fiber optic internet access for rural customers and for businesses around our area as well.
So from the conversations and the panels that have already taken place this morning, everyone is talking about the challenge of the transition, of course, and this feels like a very pivotal moment for the industry. Rob, what do you think the role of brand is at this pivotal moment?
Yeah, the role of branding is very simple. It's to build trust, right? As a rural electric cooperative, we're kind of in a unique space from a business standpoint because we don't answer to regulators. We don't answer to shareholders. We're actually owned by the consumers that we serve. It's kind of a unique business model. And so that allows us to be innovative. That allows us to be flexible. But we can't do that if we don't have their trust. So we put a lot of stock into building that trust, ensuring customer satisfaction so that when they come to us with problems, we can go back to them with solutions. And there's going to be a lot of that back and forth over the next couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's almost, as you said there, your license to operate, in a way, is through building trust with your stakeholders. How has Tipmont responded to their evolving needs, if you will, as the transition unfolds?
Sure. Well, the first thing we did over the last 5 years was build a state-of-the-art fiber optic internet service. In many parts of rural America, consumers are still underserved as it comes to internet service. And so they came to us and they said, hey, our kids are struggling to go to school. They can't do remote schooling. We can't do remote work. All these things that are happening online, we don't have the access to do it. So, we went out and built a $100 million fiber optic network. Now on the energy side, we're starting to look at some solutions that would enable many of our consumers to, do things like, put in solar arrays, put in windmills, and, potentially sell that excess energy back to us to help lower, our peak demand and solve some of the challenges that we're facing.
Well, that's really interesting. And I know you're about to be on a panel in a moment that's about, bringing new products to market in the energy sector. What role does brand play for you in guiding your innovation, but ensuring that you are telling a connected story, you're educating your audiences around the innovation that you're creating?
Yeah, so we use a lot of storytelling in our branding. We've got several of our consumers that have, kind of taken that first leap. They're early adopters. So we kind of let them do a little of our brand storytelling for us. We've got one guy on our system, and he's probably dumped, I would guess $250,000 into, solar panels. He's got all the battery storage. He's got a, Tesla Cybertruck and all these neat toys. And so we kind of use him as a test model as, here's some of the things that are coming. He's actively doing these things today. And that way, when our consumers hear, it's not just coming from us as somebody who, the utility, but it's coming from somebody just like them who lives nearby, who's doing these things that, may be of benefit to them down the road.
And you're a unique business, as you mentioned, in the fact that you're a cooperative. What are some of the unique challenges you face in brand and communication from the angle of your business and your role in the sector?
Yeah, we're a bit of a victim of our own success in that electric energy has been, I don't want to call it cheap, but certainly, affordable. And so sometimes it's tough to get their attention, for something that, gosh, I really don't know if I benefit from giving my attention to this because, electric energy has been a pretty good value, at least in our part of the country. So getting their attention can sometimes be pretty tough. However, we think that's going to change. in the next couple of years, we're probably going to have to make some changes to our rates, changes to the way that we build them. That's going to cause some pain in the pocketbook. And so we're harboring a guess that we're going to get their attention when that happens. So today, we're undertaking a lot of efforts to try and get their attention now. This is coming. This is happening over the next 10 years or the next 15 years. If you don't pay attention, there may be some financial pain for you.
And how can you navigate that tricky obstacle, if you will, because that's going to be somewhat of a bump in the road in your relationship. So with your stakeholders. So how are you navigating?
Yeah, so we're really trying to identify today, the people that are those early adopters that can help us spread the message, help us tell the story. We take all the traditional roles of, communicating with our consumers through surveys, through magazines, through our website, social media, what have you. But what really seems to resonate is when they hear this is somebody who lives right down the road from me that is doing these things. And here's why they're doing them. And here's how it's going to affect me down the road. So the more that we can get kind of those champions, those brand champions on our side, I think the more effective we're going to be.
Absolutely. Rob, what's the most important lesson you've learned from your time in the industry that you'd like to share with this community?
Sure. Listen. Listen more than you talk. We put a lot of stock into our surveys. We do them quarterly with our consumers. And there's one question I always include, an open-ended question, that I learn more from this one question than any other question that we ask. If you could change one thing about Tipmont, about your energy provider, what would it be? And the answers range. They go the gamut, and we learn more from that one question. But just talking to our consumers, we do a lot of meetings. We call them kilowatts and brats. We literally grab a gal who comes in, makes up a bunch of brats. We sit at a local high school and we just talk to them for an hour, 2 hours. However long they want to stay around. So just spending that time in conversation and in that direct piece, that has really helped us build the trust we need to do some of the things we're going to need to do over the next 10, 15, 20 years.
Yeah, that's really, really insightful and so powerful, that dialogue that you've got with your stakeholders. Rob, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a real pleasure to hear about Tipmont and the work that you're doing. And we look forward to sharing more BrandPie Energy Voices live here from the Charge Conference in Houston with you on brandpie.com. Thank you.